Hello and welcome back, and that is right. Today we want to look at memory upgrades and Synology. Over the last few years I've made lots of different videos where I've talked about memory upgrades on different kinds of Synologies that have been released year on refresh upon refresh. But things appear, at least if you go around on Reddit and the usual forums, to have changed slightly, and that has to do with DSM 7.1. There's been lots of people reporting that when they've been upgrading their Synology NAS system with third-party memory or unsupported memory from the likes of, say, ADATA and Transcend, from the likes of Samsung, from the likes of TimeTec, from the likes of Crucial, that when they've been testing this memory and utilizing this memory from year upon year, when they've updated to DSM 7.1, seemingly that memory has ceased to be recognised. Now, there's been different reports online with lots of people saying it's absolutely fine and lots of other people saying it's definitely stopped them using their memory. And ultimately in today's video, I am going to be testing 4 different modules, one of which will almost certainly not work. And I'm going to be doing this here on the Synology DS 920, released in summer 2020. This system has been updated to the latest version of DSM 7.1. And what we're going to be doing in today's video, first thing I'm going to do while I'm talking to you now, is I'm going to boot that system up, and this system has got the default 4 gig of memory right now. So it's got that 4 gig of memory soldered to the controller board. There are no upgrades inside, and the reason I'm booting it this time is just to show you that the system works, that it's got DSM 7.1, and then after that I'm going to make my way through different kinds of memory and then showing you what happens here on the screen of my laptop. It's that straightforward. Now, the first thing we're going to be looking at is a Transcend module. This is just a 2 gig DDR4 2666 megahertz memory module. Just a 2 gig module there, so it should be absolutely fine. We're not exceeding any of the CPU minimums there. Then we're going to be bench testing a 4 gig module from Samsung, and again DDR4 2666. Then we're going to be moving into an 8 gig module. Now this is where we are exceeding the manufacturer's recommended 8 gig that the CPU inside this system is supposed to be compatible with. Finally, we're going to be looking at a 16 gig module, which I am comfortably certain will not boot. I know that because I've tested it before, but I thought while I've got it here, we'll include it in the video. And if you stick around till the end, you'll see it there. Now, while this system boots up, and it shouldn't be much longer, it's worth highlighting a few things. First and foremost, this system is populated with Pro Series WD RED drives. Consequently, it's going to make more noise. The microphone is barely maybe 1.8 feet away from this now, so I apologise for the hums and the fans that you're going to be picking up in today's video. I'll try and sort it out as much as possible in the edit. It was just the only way for you guys to see it being done, so you can with your eyes see the exchange of the memory and know what works and what doesn't. And that beep should hopefully signify that the system is starting to go into that boot sequence. So what I'm going to do now is flick over to my screen here. I've already got things set up with Synology Assistant, so hopefully we'll move on to this screen now. Hello, I'm in the middle there. So first thing I'm going to do is click search there at the top, and we're just going to search for different systems in my local area environment here on the network to see if we can find it. Let's have a little look. I know the microphone's just off to the side there, so I'm sorry if my voice doesn't seem straight on camera. As you can see, that DS 920 has appeared. It's on the IP 192.168.1.109. So if we log into the Synology here and log into the system, we can log straight in and have a little look at that software that we're rocking on there. Go into the control panel there. Again, I know we're doing half screen. I just think it's important to keep everything on screen there. From there, we can go into hardware and power. Actually, that's the wrong one. That's what I get for not looking at the screen while I'm talking to you. We can go into there, into information, software and updates even. And we can see we're rocking DSM 7.1. And also, if we go into that hardware, just as I was about to do there, you're able to see that the system is going to be rocking that. There's the info center. We can see that we are rocking that 4 gig of memory, 4096 megabytes there. So we're all good. So now, next thing I'm going to do is shut the system down. So we're going to go ahead and shut that down. And then we're going to test our first module. Don't worry about that. I'm just going to shut that down. And that first one, as mentioned, is going to be a 2 gig module right there. So it shouldn't take too long for the system to carry on. So now let's switch over to the other camera while we wait for the system to power down. Again, Synology's position on memory upgrades has always been something that they've been very steadfast on and very rigid on. They only recommend their own labelled memory to be used in their system. Synology is not a memory manufacturer. They do use memory from third party, but they do stress test their memory, they say, with their systems. And they also highly recommend that you do not exceed the recommended minimum of memory. I know I've done videos showing that you can install those larger modules, but the jury is still out about just how well you can access that extra available memory and just how stable the system is. So if you do go down that road, always know that you're doing those sort of things with an element of potential risk there, and you could destabilize your data as well as the brand not supporting you. So first thing I'm going to do is remove these drives. I'm going to do it very gently because these drives are just spinning down, so hopefully that shouldn't impact things. And if I break my hard drives, I know that I've done that for you guys, even though it probably does super annoy me by doing that. So we're just going to remove the 3 there because the available bay is tucked in here on the side. So let's get that first 2 gig module out there. Let's do that, remove it there, and then I'm going to install it, so bear with me. You should hopefully hear the click. That is the click we're looking for. I can feel there the arms at either side of it are working. We're going to reinstate those drives. I'm sorry this is going to be a bit of a long video. I'm just trying to make sure that I don't remove any of this stuff in the edit too much for you guys. So for those of you that are still on the fence about this and want to know for certain whether this will work, so we've got those installed. So we'll go ahead now. This is where we're going to start it. So the first thing we want to see is, will the system boot at all with third-party memory? And the first thing I've noticed there is it's powered down. Now that's not unusual, but it is something a lot of people have talked about. When you use third-party memory inside the system, that sometimes it recognises that that wasn't the preset system before and powers down. Some kind of kill switch that we're still investigating there. But that's never happened prior to DSM 7.1. So we've already got something there that might indicate that 7.1 does have that kind of built-in protection there. So let's go ahead and we're going to try and boot it again and let the system boot up from scratch there. So the second time I do it here, let's carry on. We can see that it's powered itself down again. Not a great sign indeed. So what I'm going to do now is start removing these drives, and from here install a secondary module there. Let's remove that from there. Bring out our third bay. Don't worry too much about the drives because the disks have not spun up. So let's double check, and indeed that memory module was fully installed correctly. So it wasn't like it wasn't attached in the pins. Move it from either side. So what we're going to try now is the 4 gig module from Samsung. So again, I'm going to try that again. So again, this is a non-Synology module. This is a Samsung 4 gig DDR4 module. And again, I should link in the description to all the memory used today. Let's get that in there. Line it up. I can feel the plug go in. Click it top, click it bottom. And again, we'll install our hard drives. Going for it there. Pop them in one by one. And we've got our drives installed. It's time for the Samsung SODIMM module there. 3, 2, 1. Powered on. I'm just going to double check that OBS was still recording that segment from earlier because I got super paranoid there. So we're going to see what happens here with our third-party Samsung module, letting the system boot. And as you can see, this time the drives have actually booted. This time the system didn't kill switch itself off. But it's tested the drives, it's spun up those drives, and now, to me, that looks like we are getting a real boot sequence there. We should know properly in about 3 minutes as the system boots up there. So let's carry on talking about the memory there from Synology, because Synology does provide some great memory there. Why would you not buy Synology memory in a Synology system. I've chatted to enough people at trade shows on either side of the fence. On the one hand, when you buy a first-party system to store your data, you're buying it for peace of mind, and therefore if a brand states that that memory is the only memory they will back up and guarantee for the stability of your platform, at least as far as a guarantee can go, then most users will go, yep, that sounds good to me, take the money. But there's a lot of other users out there that will maintain that, one, the higher cost of Synology memory is less palatable. The second thing that they don't like is the availability of Synology memory isn't as diverse or widely available as the likes of Crucial and the like, and Kingston and stuff like that. And thirdly, when it comes to using Synology's own memory, because Synology are not a memory manufacturer, and much like the CPU to any other part of their system, they are using hardware from other companies and then adding their own firmware sometimes, or rebadging or repackaging these products, or reconfiguring them into their own hardware ecosystem. Because of that, most people think that using Synology memory is just a question of a key lock system on any memory you can use. But as you can see, the 4 gig Samsung module has seemingly worked there, but we won't know for certain until we make our way back to the screen. So let's click over to here. Let's refresh that list of hardware there. Hopefully the IP hasn't changed. The IP hasn't changed, so we can go ahead and just refresh that one there. Again, we're just going to go ahead and log in there with that Billy Basic login we've built for this video. Nice and simple. And again, we'll go into the hardware. We won't bother looking at the software because you know it's exactly the same NAS from earlier, running DSM 7.1. We can already see from the bottom the RAM utilization. Let's go into the control panel. From there, we will go into the information center. Let's go into info center there. And as we can see, now we are rocking that larger memory. We're rocking that 8,192 megabytes per second of memory. It has seen that Samsung memory module there. Also, it's worth highlighting, the system has not seen that memory is unsupported there. Now, it's not available on the information that's been published out there. It's not visibly on their compatibility list. It's not on their supported list. This does not mean that Synology verify the usage of this memory on their systems, but it has seemingly booted up there. So now we're going to shut down the system for another time, and this time, flicking our way back to the screen, this time when the system powers down, what we're going to be doing is installing a TimeTec budget 8 gig module. Now this is 2666 megahertz memory there, so it is going to be memory that is probably the lowest cost memory you can get in the market right now. On top of that, we are now going to be exceeding the 8 gig maximum that this CPU and indeed the Synology 920 itself verify is what you can install inside this system. Now again, I've mentioned it in earlier videos, but I will say it again. If you install larger than the recommended maximum on these systems, in a lot of cases, as the system finally powering down with those noisy drives, you will be able to see that memory. But how much can actually be utilized at any given time because of the CPU and its own, handling of max memory there is negligible. So again, we will touch on that more. But for now, let's go ahead and remove these drives very gently on the side there. Go for the next one. And again, we're going to remove the 3 drives just like we've done before. The next thing we're going to be doing is removing that Samsung memory from the inside module there. I am using the camera there just to see what I'm doing. So there we go, we've got that memory removed. Now we're going to go for the TimeTec module. Again, I can't stress, they're one of the lowest, most affordable memory modules out there. And I have used them in multiple tests prior to this video, and they have worked on this system prior to DSM 7.1. Let's get that in there. Put it there, let's hear the click. Both of those clips are in, top and bottom. Let's reinstate our drives. Let's face it, right now, we've had 1 failure, 1 success. If you had to put a gun to my head and ask, please don't do that. I'd say this isn't going to work, but we'll have to wait and see, won't we? This is going to be as much of a surprise for me as it is going to be for you. So let's take a moment to ask yourself, do you think this is going to work? I'll give you a few seconds to say it to the screen. Let's go. So we've got our blue light. Let's have a little look. What's going to happen with this system? Is it going to kick off that kill switch there? Is it going to notice it's non-drive? And there you go, that light turned itself off again. So we're going to give ourselves another try there. This is starting to back up that theory about DSM 7.1. So for now, yeah, see? Kill switch there. Now again, once again, I have tested that memory module and every module I've tested thus far on this system already. This does seemingly suggest that the system is now not allowing those third-party memory modules. We're going to do one more test just to be there on the safe side. And again, if you question the utilization of this memory on this particular NAS, just scroll back, go through the video catalog, you'll find that that very module in this very Synology did previously work. So for now, I'd say this isn't successful. So let's remove this. And now we're going to go for the test that I'm pretty certain isn't going to work anyway. And that is going to be the crucial 16 gig module. Apologies for the break in recording there. I forgot to fully remove the other module while I was talking to you. So let's put, again, that's the crucial memory we're putting inside. Got that module, let's hear the click. And it's gone in, top clip, bottom clip, all in. So let's install that. What's intriguing, of course, is will this system boot if we don't have the drive media inside, but we do have that SSD module, but we'll test that right at the end. But for now, we've got that 16 gig module that almost certainly won't work, but let's go in 3, 2, 1. The system's booting up. We've got our blue little light there. Let's have a little look. I can hear disks spinning up. We've got the system booting. I can hear the fans. And the drives have woken up. This might actually boot. And again, I did not expect this module, this to be the module that boots this system. I was pretty much certain that a 16 gig module was just going to hit the wall from Crucial and do absolutely nothing. Once again, this is a 16 gig module, as you can see there on screen. So for now, let's carry on. So even if we summarize what you've seen today, just because this module has just worked is absolutely no guarantees. First and foremost, it's a 16 gig module on a CPU that shouldn't see more than 8 gig, and right now this is 16 gig plus another 4 gig. That is a lot of data to be playing with there. Secondly, this may indicate that some crucial memory modules do work. Unfortunately, I do not have a 4 or an 8 gig crucial module here in the studio. I will be doing some tests very, very soon on a multitude of platforms utilizing Sabrent's brand new DDR4 series of memory modules, so I recommend you check that out when it drops. But for now, I'd say we're doing, right now, our tests are 2 against 2 right now in terms of a success rate. Of course, after this test, what I'm going to do is power this system down, remove all 4 drives, and install one of the 2 modules that didn't work last time to see if the system boots with no hard drives inside. I'm just going to move that slightly while the vibration there gets picked up on the microphone, and I'm just going to keep talking to camera. How are you guys doing? Again, I could cut this, but I'm going to try not to because I want you guys to see whether this is going to boot. Where are you going on your holidays this year? Anywhere nice? I was going to go to Taiwan this year, but I didn't. Hopefully this will boot soon because this is getting, let's face it, painfully tedious. You can fast forward. I can't do that. I have to sit here talking to you. And would you believe this is the first time I've done this without a single noise of a seagull above me? A rare treat, no less. But what's starting to dawn on me right now is this system. It hasn't fully beeped yet. We've not seen the 4 drives are spinning. I've not seen the 4 lights there. And again, if I go ahead and click search and find the NAS on the local area network, it hasn't appeared. So I get the impression, even though I was full of early hopes, to me it's starting to look like that 16 gig was never going to boot anyway, which means we're currently looking at 3 fails and 1 success, and even that success was a little bit shaky there. Now, it's worth highlighting that the Samsung memory that we did test is one that has worked previously. It might be that it's very similar architecture to what's used inside the Synology, or perhaps Synology's own brand memory is indeed Samsung memory to start with. When we did our rip down of the DS220 and indeed the 920, when we took the system apart here on the table, we did notice that the soldered memory modules on board seemed to indicate they were 1 gig Samsung memory modules there. So it could be that that Samsung module slipped through the net by simple virtue of being the same memory used inside the Synology. Unfortunately, I can't confirm that. But for now, to me, this does not look like a success, sadly. And for now, I think I'm going to have to power down this system and commit our last test here for the video. So let's kill that off. Power that down. Hopefully that should power down the system shortly while I'm holding that button. Again, I do not recommend you do what I've just done there. It is not good for the system. Ultimately, you could potentially damage your data or indeed the whole system itself. So do bear that in mind. So what I'm going to do is just give it a minute to power down. And this time I'm going to go back right the way to the beginning with our 2 gig memory module there. This is going to be that 2 gig module that didn't work when we booted the system with those drives, because Synology's DSM software lives on the storage media. So what is going to be interesting to see here is if we remove all the drives that are inside and then boot the system with no drives, will the system still not boot at all with that memory module inside? Or with the lack of the DSM 7.1 software on the drives visible, will that stop the kill switch? It's worth also remembering that there is a flash module inside these systems that contains DSM when you first get the systems. But when you update the system, that flash module does get updated as well. And if you update a NAS system, for example, from 6.2 to DSM 7, you can't just remove the drives, put in new drives and go back to 6.2. It's a painfully slow downgrade process to bring it back. So even though trying this, there's no guaranteeing that this is going to work. But our final test here, we want to see what happens if we install that 2 gig module on this system without the drives inside. Okay, it's in the bay. Let's hear it click. The top one's in, the bottom one's in. So this time, let's boot the system, but without our storage media inside. Let's go in. Do we think it's going to work? Well, think to yourself, I'll give you a moment. Do you think it's going to work? Let's find out. So we're booting the system up. We've got our 2 gig module inside. We've got our light flicking there. And we may have a touch of success. But if this does work, who cares? Because let's face it, even if you can boot the system without the storage media inside, and then after it's booting with the 2 gig module, you install some fresh new drives, then go through the DSM setup process, as soon as you update to DSM 7.1, that memory module's not going to work. So it does look more and more, based on all the evidence we've got here, that DSM 7.1 may well be stopping you from using that unsupported memory. Now, how you feel about this, that's up to you. Synology have been abundantly clear about their systems and using unsupported memory. They've made it abundantly clear that they both recommend as firmly as possible that you use supported memory. So they're producing a system here, and they are seemingly, based on what we've seen today, and it's by no means confirmed, just everything we've seen in today's video seems to indicate that the latest version of DSM 7.1 will not allow you to use that third-party or non-supported memory to some degree or another. Of course, we'll be looking into this more and more. I hope you found this video helpful. Let's have a little look, because we've heard it beep. I'm going to have a look on my screen here and see what happens. And yes, the NAS has appeared, the IP hasn't changed. And if I go into the Synology web assistant, again, you don't have to see it here on screen. I could literally just rotate this here for you. You can see that the installation has started, but it is asking us to install drives. And the minute I install drives, we would have gone through the DSM system. And again, as soon as the system reboots, no memory for you. But this has been testing memory upgrades, unsupported memory upgrades on this, the Synology DS920 with DSM 7.1. I hope you found this video helpful. Again, this system, if you install those old drives back in, it's going to work absolutely fine without any memory modules inside. Take my word for it. Again, I could test that for you here, but unless I tack it on at the end of the video, take it as read, because I'm going to do that after this, and I've used up enough of your time already. Thank you so much for watching. Click like if you've enjoyed the video as we explore this subject more. Click subscribe as we do more tests on different NAS systems throughout 2022. And if you've got any questions about choosing the right NAS storage device for your home or business, I strongly recommend using the free advice section over on NAS Compares. You can ask me in the comments, but there's just too many questions every day, and at least with the free advice section, it's all funneled into an order where we can answer questions first come, first serve. It's completely unbiased. There's a donate section. Use it, ignore it, it's up to you. We answer every message, me and Eddie the web guy. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.